So that's the synergy of AI and RPA. Because one of the things we could do with RPA is we could always, what people don't realize is this AI evolution has happened over the last 2 years. Like, where are we going to be in 3, 4, 5 years from now? It's unimaginable.
Meet Ben Bresington. He automates the boring stuff and scale your company using the latest in AI robotic process automation as the founder of Automate Boring.
About it in terms of even content, like if everybody could produce this much more all the time, it's still going to be about how you can stand out and be the signal through the noise. And I think what you just said, which starts thinking about it beyond just traditional sort of, only using the digital methods, and this is why snail mail may never die and stuff like that.
How did your company start and when? And was this your plan all along from day one?
No, so my plan always gets changed every time I get punched in the face. So,
welcome, Ben.
G'day, fellas. How you doing?
Good day, fellas. What are you doing? So I'm curious, you founded Automate Boring. That's the name of the company, right? Automate Boring?
Yeah, Automate Boring. Yep.
You found that to help business leverage AI as well as RPA. Might have been ChatGPT. One of the AI did come out with the ability where I think they can take control of your screen and do some of those tasks. So is that now speaking to the robotic side via a different API, for lack of a better way to put it?
Yeah, so that was Anthropic actually that released that one. And they can now do the stuff. Because what we can do is we can say, hey, ChatGPT, what's the cheapest flights from California to Las Vegas, right? And it can go find the info, but it can't book the flights. What the next models, what they're now calling agents. So the new buzzword is creating agents, right? Because now you can say, book me the cheapest flight from LA to Los Angeles, but before you book it, tell me how much it's going to be, right?
Nice.
And you can also say, when you book it, make sure it's first class, make sure I've got 3 bags, make sure I've got a seat for my poodle, and make sure I get the free drink on check-in, right? Or whatever it is, right? You can actually give it all these instructions and then and say, use my American Airlines points, and here's the point card, right? Because what it'll then do is it'll then find the flights. It'll get your permission. You'll go, do you approve this $3,000 bill? You'll be like, hell's yes, right? And then it'll actually total off to American Airlines and then book the flight for you, get confirmation, get a receipt, send you an email, all that type of stuff. So now, instead of just finding that flight info, it can now do stuff for you, which is this next evolution of AI automation and where the big opportunity is for everybody.
And is that AI and RPA together, or is it still not what you would consider RPA?
So that's the synergy of AI and RPA. So now you're actually, because one of the things we could do with RPA is we could always have it do things, and it may just be a longer task. But RPA was really, really good if the process was static and never really changed. But as soon as that screen changed the UI, or the button went from over here to over here, a lot of the time the RPA would break. But now with the new technology, it literally does what they call OCR. It like looks at the screen, uses like the Vision API. Like, I don't know if you've ever used the Google Translate, where you actually hold up the phone to the menu and it translates it, like it reads the screen. That's what the new stuff is doing for, okay, how's this software work? Hey, did American Airlines change their interface? Which they do all the time. You may have a pop-up or an ad show. And what happens is the AI can now realize, oh, I need to close this because it's got nothing to do with what I'm doing to achieve this goal.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Sounds problematic for all the VAs out there.
Yeah, so if you're in the VA business, this is going to certainly cause you to focus on other things. And one of the things we know is about 80% of what all VAs do can actually be automated, if not all of it. So those people, you're going to find that they're going to become some of the biggest opportunities for deploying this for companies, because you're going to be paying a VA, but it's not really going to be a VA. It's going to be an AI VA, and they're still billing you 80 hours a week, but they're only literally working maybe 2. And this is the big opportunity.
That's amazing, though. Trying to think about that a little bit further, because there are some VAs who instead maybe they will leverage this on their own right, and therefore they increase their capacity, but the prices will probably go down. So it's kind of just a survival technique, I guess, if they have to do that, unless they become those agencies more themselves. Meaning, I think what you said about like helping people do this, implement it in their businesses becomes the opportunity. But would you say creative tasks, I mean, you can't, that's where it gets a little bit tricky. And let me just use an example. If somebody's creating stuff for social media, you're on LinkedIn, we're on LinkedIn. I mean, I guess you could basically say right now, anyway, people are using AI so much for that. So I guess you could go the extra mile and basically say, research it over here, like your whole task of everything that you do that you might have VA, do, or that you might do yourself. So I guess as I go down that one, maybe you could do most of it. Creating videos might be a little harder, but maybe not.
You can actually create videos. You can do audio. So like we actually just deploy AI. Like a client I was just having a coffee with gave me their CSV of 500 people they want to start to get to know or connect with on LinkedIn. Right. We've actually got an AI that'll actually go out to LinkedIn. It'll research their profiles. It'll find their social media. It'll actually take their last 10 social media posts and analyze what are they interested in? What are they saying? What are they talking? So now we can then send personalized messages to them. It'll go and like their profile, or even start to comment on their profiles in a unique way.
Wow.
We've even, and one of the things it can actually, so it can take a list of 500 people, and what it can do is start to classify them on what are they interested in and help you generate content that would be of interest or value to each segment. Because it's not about creating content that's one size fits all, right?
Yeah.
Because what happens is your posts become boring and tedious. It's about creating multiple posts that are relevant for unique people. And this is where you can use AI. We even have posts that'll actually create cartoons. We're doing a lot, and we're playing a lot with imagery and cartoons right now. So we're taking our social media posts that were text, we're converting them also into a cartoon, and then publishing those cartoons, which is then having people who never read the text participate and read the cartoons. And with the new video AIs and voice AIs, you can actually have your voice. You can clone your voice with 11 Labs and actually have it as an audio post, which then engages a different segment of that audience once again, right? Like, this is where AI can help you distribute or publish or engage, because to do all of this takes hours. But with AI, I can have it run for 2 hours, 3 hours in the background, and I can be making more effective outreach because I'm compounding my efforts.
Yeah. Is this kind of the next evolution of old school bots that used to crawl social media and do more simple tasks? This is like the advancement. So do you think that LinkedIn, Instagram, they'll start restricting these type of tools as well as they get more sophisticated?
Well, it's a two-edged sword, because it becomes really hard for them to understand what's the difference between human behavior and AI behavior, right? So, because the advantage with RPA is I can actually clone mouse movement. So I can actually make the mouse stall. I can actually make the mouse hover over this button a little bit like a human would. So it's reading it. So then where a lot of people would get in the problems in the past, and this was the stuff that's easy to block, was they would just use what they call a headless browser, which means they use code to kind of just go and do something. What they don't code in is the imperfection. They don't code in, load the page, randomly wait somewhere between 3 seconds and 20 minutes before you actually click on that link. Because you know what? The kids came in, I spilt the coffee, the phone rang. So like you've been scrolling LinkedIn, right? And you scroll and you'll stop on stuff. You'll hover, you'll get distracted, you maybe click on a few other things. Then you'll come back to actually do what you intended to do. So what I find with RPA, if we program in, and with all the system, because of my my background with my criminology training and what have you, I program in a lot of human randomness. And what that makes it is it makes the systems more realistic. So it's going to be a two-edged sword. What a lot of systems are starting to do is block crappy automation, because a lot of people out there didn't realize that they were crappily attacking a system effectively rather than getting your task done. So yeah, the evolution of this is going to become much and much harder. And what's funny is there's now AI detectors to detect if this post was human or AI written. But the AIs are getting so good that the AI can't detect it was AI written. So the thing is like, and what people don't realize is this AI evolution has happened over the last 2 years. Like, where are we going to be in 3, 4, 5 years from now? Like, it's unimaginable, to be honest.
What you just said made me remind me of that Spider-Man meme where all the Spider-Mans are pointing at each other. I think all the AI agents are just pointing at each other.
Right.
Looking, you're fake. No, I'm
with,
fake. I'm real.
with where it's going though, with that, like I'm actually curious. Like, do you think I mean, today I think I just got like an alert about how Nvidia has just passed up Apple as, most valued company, whatever, in the world, which is crazy when you think about where it's coming so quickly. But when you look at how fast AI is coming, they're literally fueling, the brain power behind AI, if you will. What else do you think? Like, obviously, you're looking at the Googles and you're looking at the Facebooks and Amazon, a lot of big tech, who seems to be placed pretty well here. But it's so nuts too, because at the same time, you see with like Anthropic and ChatGPT, like there still feels like there's some key leaders here. And if people start to adopt those, I'm just trying to think about what it means for the future of tech. And while this is probably a sidebar, I'm just curious, like when you look at certain companies out there right now, are you like, you think they will lead the way around the AI and robotic processing?
So I think they're all moving into, so the whole RPA thing is moving into agentic, right? So it's about how I get stuff done. I don't know if you saw that Rabbit OS, which was they're trying to replace the phone, because now instead of you having
I
100
saw that.
apps, 100 apps on your phone, you can literally say, go book me that flight and that trip to Disney, right? And it goes and does stuff. So we're changing, and I was a big believer in chat interfaces. I believe most websites aren't designed for chat interfaces. They're not designed for user experiences. We haven't even really leveraged that next frontier of voice, because there is like a very, very simple problem. Most restaurants, most businesses, service businesses, you try to call to make a booking. Like next time you're in a bar or a restaurant, sit there and listen, and you'll find the waitress, the hostess person. I have to say person now to be politically correct. Is sitting there, right, and they're answering the phone. And someone's like, oh, you're trying to make a reservation. Well, let me walk you through how to make a reservation. So are you on our website? Can you load our website? Gone are the days of customer service where they actually make the reservation. They're sending you to the website to guide you through how to make the reservation on their website, because they won't make it for you. So AI can literally now answer that phone, take that reservation, provide that customer support, which they're not providing, and actually do it for you. One of the biggest problems with most service businesses, dentists, doctors, hotels, restaurants, you name it, is finding people to answer the phone. My biggest request from all of my clients is, can you answer my phone? And when you answer the phone, provide service or value to that person, track that phone so it actually goes into our CRM so we can do something with it. Because so many times you'll call a business, right? You may want to process an order. You may want to get some information, and they'll go, oh, I'll send you an information on that. I'll send you an email out. They never send you the email. You never get loaded into their CRM. You never get the information you want. Where all of this will literally be resolved in this next evolution of this agentic styled automation. And my tip for anyone listening is, if you're lost in the world of AI, purely think of it as automating any task you do. And one last thing on that, like, look at what Elon is doing with the Tesla bot. You're literally going to be able to go from ChatGPT to Tesla robot that you can rent, lease, whatever it is. It'll go pick up the groceries that you ordered that are a mile away, because it'll walk down the road. Or you know what? The Tesla taxi car will show up, and who's getting out of it? It are these Tesla bots that are going to go pick up your laundry.
Right.
This is that reality of what they're going to make possible.
That's what my wife is waiting for the robot to do the laundry.
Well, she's been asking you to fold that underwear for a few weeks now. I don't know what's going on.
This is more representative you are. Come on. When you were mentioning that there's a term I just learned about yesterday. It talked about whether it's a real term or just something somebody's thrown out there is another question, but it was looking at SEO versus AEO, with the idea of, SEO being search engine optimization, AEO being ask engine optimization, because what you just described with that customer service thing, you like, for people to start thinking about that in terms of the types of thing, if it's going to crawl, if it's going to look, how do you interact with it, and how do you give it the answers in that way that's more like a conversation and not like ranking for SEO, for lack of a better way to put it.
You know what's interesting about that? I've been doing a lot with SEO and SEO automation lately, and there's SEO for bots and bots only. There's SEO for chat bot and chat conversations only. There's SEO for humans, and the activity humans actually do. It like this there's so many elements to SEO now that people don't even think about, and then they miss the opportunity of gaining traffic based on local type questions that a human is
Yeah.
asking, and they don't realize that they've just optimized for bot phrases, which is
Interesting. Right.
yeah, where they're crawling to feed AI to, like, that is a world in itself where you have to go, is this traffic human or computer?
So I'm curious here then, what's your thoughts? You mentioned obviously 11 labs and voice, but what's your thought on the actual there's video AI, like I say video AI. This could be your we're if it was the AI version of ourselves in these conversations that people are able to do now. Are you incorporating that at all in any of the automation that you're looking at?
100%. We actually built our own video avatar tool to actually create your own avatar and actually be able to do these voice conversations.
Wow.
We find that very, very powerful for voice personalization and follow-up and personalizing your sales message. Because now I could actually send a personalized sales video to a list of 500 people or 1,000 people and act as
Yeah,
though it's
makes sense.
been me. And now the next evolution of that is you being able to have a chat conversation with my AI digital clone in voice or audio. And after the fact of this conversation, it could send you a voice memo as a summary. It could send you a link to the video where you can answer any additional questions or interact with it as more of a chat style. So one of the things I challenge people to always think about is think about this in multi-dimensional or multimodal. We may watch a video. I may have questions. How do I submit those questions? How do I submit those questions without having to go through a salesperson, right? How do you follow up with me multimodal? And when I mean multimodal, I mean voice, audio, image, video, or even postcard. How do you send me a handwritten letter or a personal, like, why is there no snapshot of the video we're doing today of all three of us that's got a handwritten thank you card that says, thanks for being on our podcast. We really appreciate it. Like those little things, people are like, oh my God, I don't want to spend $1.25 on postage. But the real world impact of that, massive.
Yeah.
Like we were building some automations for some clients where we're answering their phone, we're taking their information, we're confirming appointments and reservation, and then we're actually automatically triggering postcards to go out that have got the personalized image of that person for their anniversary, or things like that. Like you can now do this. And a lot of people, oh, let me just send an email because it's cheap or it's easy. Okay, great. But what about connecting it to send to the LinkedIn message, to personalize a tweet to that person and DM them, and like start thinking like that. And the companies that do that well, I can guarantee that their customer lifetime value will be much higher. You don't have, and one point to a lot of businesses here is you don't have to have a 10,000 person list. If you've only got a client list of 20, I can promise you just by doing some of this personalization with AI, for postcards, letters, video, follow-up, just little things, your customer lifetime value can increase. And that's what matters to the business.
Well, what's also so critical about what you're saying there is that sometimes I ask myself, well, what happens when everybody's adopting this though? And then all of a sudden, think about it in terms of even content. Like if everybody could produce this much more all the time, it's still going to be about how you can stand out and be the signal through the noise. And I think what you just said, which starts thinking about it beyond just traditional sort of, only using the digital methods. And this is why snail mail may never die and stuff like that. But it's like, how do you show up to people differently? Because it's one thing, right now, as you said, an advantage is being able to say their name by leveraging some of these automations without having to record the video itself. Now, in the future, when everybody's doing that, that's going to be considered standard. So once more, then you have to be thinking about how do you stand out differently and show up as a different way that other people aren't doing, staying ahead of the curve.
What I also say to people on that is like, yeah, but to beat 98% of your competition, I just got to be more consistent than your competitors. And what I do know is they may have bought the subscription to the software, but like 98% of them, they never activated it.
Great point.
So the thing is that point of when everybody else is doing it, well, between now and then, I may have 3 to 5 years. And in that time, I could make $1 to $100 million. So do you know what? Do I give a crap? So it's first mover advantage of execution is key, because executing the idea is worth 1,000 times more than the idea itself. And I can guarantee you, everyone's going to have this idea. But
Yeah.
like, it's just like all the real estate agents out there or the mortgage professionals, right, who are out there, right? They're all out there. But yet, why is there one of them that's got the billboards all around town? Why is there one of them that's actually making the $100 million worth of deal volume? Like, why isn't there more of them?
Yeah. Great point.
No, it's a great point. I mean, it's basically allowing everybody to have high touch service, but only if you choose to execute on it.
Yeah.
And that white glove service, which really does make a difference to a customer.
But that's what's going to be so interesting, though, as you think about it. And I'm going to take it to the home services business for a minute and say, okay, you have a plumbing business, and this plumbing business is struggling with taking those calls and, that kind of stuff. But will that person who still maybe like is the challenge they're facing solved with that automation, or is it more explicit to the fact that they're not that type of thinker? Meaning I'm trying to still think about in the future when people have these tools and stuff, I do still wonder what's going to determine, because you said the action takers, and it's like, well, then, does this also open up a more likely business that's not just mom and pop down the way doing their, thing for their smaller business? Is it the mom and pops are then engaging with a company that's created this at mass for all plumbing? So now do you actually change it? Because now the king of the business in plumbing is not the individual one. It's the person who's actually handling all of the sales, all the marketing, all the touch up on behalf of them and getting paid to do so.
100%. And this is how I was able to scale one client from literally a few $1 million a year, and in less than 12 months, we took them to over $100 million in gross volume. So the thing is this small company who had bottlenecks in fulfillment and production, I was able to alleviate their workflows by automating it, and they scaled. And now I sell that same product to every other competitor because they all have this problem. So you're right, the opportunity, because let's face it, the average person, like 50% of people in the US still haven't used ChatGPT.
How many people?
Right?
Which is crazy to think.
It's almost 50%. The number is like, it actually could be greater, right?
I can't live my life without it.
But you're an early adopter. My mum doesn't know what it is, but you know what? Yeah. Who could benefit from the most? My mum, right? Yeah. Most baby boomers haven't, like, they don't even know how to use their website. Right. Yeah. So the thing is they're dependent on these services because so much of this tech is actually beyond them. Right. So like everyone won't be doing this because they literally can't do this. So the opportunity is being the facilitator. Like right now, we're actually building our automations in a way that we want anyone to be able to deploy them. So I'm building press researching crews, SEO crews. We actually 4x'd our organic search traffic in 1 month by just executing SEO tasks. And I'm literally taking that as a template that any business could deploy with automation. I'm not asking you to do 5 hours of SEO work, which is required, right? I'm going, give me the keyword or the topic you want, and I'll take care of the rest.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
It's incredible as you say that too, because right now, again, I'm working around a launch I'm doing for a product, and the team I'm using, VAs, are out of Pakistan, in the language barrier, which doesn't make things, all that great. But at the same time, SEO is one of those things. When I think about some of these core things and I think about what you're saying, I absolutely see like, okay, yeah, a lot of those things here that they're executing on. I mean, you literally described a few of them now where I'm like, huh. And instead, it does definitely have me thinking into the future of how I triple down on every time I'm thinking about doing something, now actually looking, because there is probably a way that's only going to get easier to, stitch together a solution. Now I say stitch, it's better than stitch, but.
Can I give you an example of one? So like, let's talk about social media posting, right?
Yeah.
So let's say Michael writes a LinkedIn post, right? So the thing is Michael's got a voice, and Michael's voice is only resonating with part of his audience, right? Mm-hmm. So my example is we've got a product that we're scaling in the tax resolution space, right? So if you owe the IRS $100,000 or less, we can literally help you solve that without hiring these tax firms, right? So you save tens of thousands of dollars, right? So, but what I realized is in the content we were writing it and a very generic voice, which is what happens when you use ChatGPT and those things. It's a very vanilla. So what I actually did was created a persona team. And I created 5 different personas based on my buyer demographics and my buyer types.
Yep.
And now AI will write the topics, will write a post in these 5 persona voices. And I've even got AI editors, which will actually edit the posts and then even publish the post. But now instead of me having one post in one voice, I've got 5 posts in 5 unique voices that we're going to still post. So now I'm posting 5 times more, but each post is specifically resonating with a specific audience market segment. So now I've taken the ROI of my content and improved it because I've niched it. But to do that, I'd have to hire 5 different writers with 5 different backstories and 5 different years of experiences and perspectives. But I can also but here's some of the magic. I can have these 5 bots actually collaborate with each other, like we're collaborating around an idea right now. And they bring that perspective to write a better blog post. So now this one blog post has actually had this collaboration. And you want to know something really scary? This 5-way conversation then with an editor and then a built-in graphic design and all that happens in less than 30 seconds and cost me a few bucks. Where if I actually had to go hire a team of people to do all of this, days, weeks, that process would happen, right?
That's
And these are some of the automations we're now offering, because now I can go to Michael and go, hey, you're doing this product launch, Michael. How would you like me to help you start to engage more segments of your audience by helping you personalize to the buyer journeys? Because we all know, if you're not aware, a buyer journey is where your buyer is in that buying cycle. Plus, we can layer in the psychographic stuff of personality style. So I can write messages to different personality styles. Because what most people don't realize is if you are the voice, you're pissing off half your audience because there's 2 different personality styles who just don't like that guy, right? This is just life. And then you resonate specifically with the quarter. So you're missing up to 3/4 of your market just from miscommunication, right? And I can tell you right now, there's a lot of people who already do not like me, and that's okay.
Especially anybody fearful of their job and thinking you're somehow the arbiter of it. Let me ask too, because with what you just said though, so I had heard of some people not necessarily leveraging AI for this, but what they had been doing that is a similar concept is they were creating on YouTube different channels, and then the videos they were creating were talking differently. You know, that person over there might be all about, you know, the future and dreams, aspiration. The other one over here, you might need to talk to more and like, can you believe the others are doing that? And like, you know, like more of like a pain-based, you know, approach.
Yeah, pain, suffering. Yeah.
Now, but what I'm trying to think about here though, is in the scenario that you said, would you create different channels to get that message out there, or would you still be leveraging the same channel? You just know some of it's going to resonate and some of it wouldn't.
I've been leveraging the same channel. You can use multiple, but the thing is it's just like people are going to resonate with different things. But the thing is how much of your posts are long form or short form? How many of your posts are infographic? How many of your posts are visual or cartoon? This is why we've built in this cartoon comic layer, because one of the things I was going to do for fun is, now with Trump winning, I can guarantee there's going to be a lot of fascinating tweets every day. So what I was going to do is literally scan his tweets every single day for the most popular tweet, turn it into a comic, and then post it, and it's going to be powered by our company. Right? People are like, why the hell would you do that? And I'm like, well, Ben, it's visual. It's audience engagement, because now there's going to be funny comics, which what happened? People will share these things. I'll turn them into memes, and they're all like, it's free traffic on Twitter, right? And it's all just, they're going to be like, who the hell is this company that's doing this? So it's just going to be free traffic, and it's all automated. What do I care? Like that whole strategy is costing me maybe $3 a day, but it could be bringing me 100,000 eyeballs every single day.
Yeah, I think it's
What's
great.
What's that worth?
It's amazing. Ben, a slight pivot. You know, you've talked about your company. Can we go back and talk about how did your company start and when? And was this your plan all along from day one?
No, so my plan always gets changed every time I get punched in the face. So no, like just like my business plan, it's just like it's bashed. So the thing is I've always been doing e-commerce, online sales. Like I started when I was really young, and as you can tell, I got that South Boston accent, right? So it's Australia. If you didn't pick up that joke, so I would fly from Australia to Hong Kong, and I'd buy products, e-commerce products, right? So I would buy anything. I didn't care if it was bedazzled bra straps and cameras, and I'd sell those products online, right?
Okay.
And I had 30 days how to work out how to sell it. And back then, Yahoo stores was how you sold products online back in 2000,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
So I've been doing that for a very long time. And I've always been doing systems and automation. And I didn't realize I was doing automation until you now call it automation, right? I was streamlining. I was taking people who were completely offline, making it online. I was building huge communities. And we evolved into what we now call automate boring. And we've got another division or a sister company where we call it automated tax credits, because we moved into the very financial services space and having our own product where we do this and develop this type of stuff. Because I was able to take, with automated tax credits, I was able to take a 2 hours of accounting work, data entry accounting work, and reduce it into 60 seconds. So the thing is the way I was able to make our company more effective was being able to validate and do this stuff ourselves. And I can talk to you in detail about strategies I'm executing with AI. And
Yeah.
that's when people are like, oh my God, I didn't even think about that. Like, and that's the power of that. So it's like, so Automate Boring is our service company for automation and literally providing that tech genius. And we deploy it as part of automated tax credits. And our goal with that company is literally to help provide people with tax benefits or tax credits or access to financial resources and grants that they didn't even know they could apply for, and literally automate that process to make it easier for you. So, and we could only do that if we automated it. Like otherwise I would need 5,000 people in my office. I would need all of these people and these resources and this infrastructure that now I don't need. And this allows us to also do smart things. Like I'm in an industry where people spend $6 million a month on lead acquisition. Some of my competitors, multiple of my competitors. Yet by leveraging the automation, I've already started stealing market share from them.
Yeah. So this is your first mover advantage too, because then the more you do that, then they'll just be paying catch up later.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's incredible. So, when you talk about all this, what are the tools though that you're leveraging and using to do this?
So the tools are always changing, right?
Okay.
So we use Crew AI for building automations. I used a lot of RoboCorp as a free one for RPA. A lot of people are getting sold automation via companies, but where they get stuck is they can't work with offline software. So a lot of companies, be it service companies or vendors, have offline software or proprietary software that may be 10 years old, that doesn't have an API, that doesn't have a web app. So it's like you need to look at those flows. So I use the right tool for the right job. Sometimes it's having to build some custom scripts, which now a lot of our developers, I always like to say, how simple can we make it? So I use Python as our core language to build stuff.
Okay.
Right. So that also means I can find developers cheap anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
So what I don't want people to believe is I got to go buy some certain software. The answer is no. How can you simply automate what you're doing now? Then the right tools will show up. If you ask that right question, and what always makes it funny to me is like people are paying big money to be trained how to be an AI engineer, but all they're doing is using Zapier. And if you don't know what Zapier is it's a automation tool to connect two pieces of software. But it's very limited in what it can do. And there's other competitors like Make and all those. So using those tools is fantastic, but it's only the first step of automating something. Yeah. So don't look for the tool. Look for what is my process, because the biggest mistake anyone makes is they actually don't know what their process is. How do I actually take this invoice and pay it? Or how do I generate a request for proposal? Like for one company right now, for one architecture firm, we're literally automating their RFPs and being able to respond to RFPs for them. So taking something that takes 12 days right now, 12 business days, and getting it to about 15 minutes. Do you know the ROI impact for that company?
Sounds like it's going to be pretty amazing. Yeah.
Can you, I mean, let's use an example you used earlier with the postcard. Like, what tool would somebody use to automate a manual, like a hard postcard to go out to a customer?
Yeah, so there's many companies out there that literally provide a back end for you for postcard automation. The best thing you can do is print on demand postcard, right? And you'll find, I don't want to go and name the companies because everyone will like run off and the company may not be right for them. But there's like that process is literally print on demand. So I can have my system upload a Google Sheet, simple Google Sheet of your name and address, right? And it'll actually upload it every day and then to these services, which are print on demand. And I can choose to send you a postcard. It's got all the postcards in different sizes. I can send you a handwritten letter, or maybe a letter that's printed in handwritten font. So it looks handwritten. I can send it in a hand addressed envelope and it'll do that. And what it does is it literally just prints those out and then it mails it out by USPS or UPS. You can actually do stuff where it'll be a FedEx delivery to people. So you're paying more because it's FedEx, but the ROI is worth it. I can automate gifts, random gift delivery. Like I can go, hey, I've got a budget of $50 that I'm allocating for Michael and $100 for Art, right? So the thing is it can actually go and choose a certain type of gift based on, is he a wine drinker, beer drinker, coffee drinker, whatever it is. And like there's services that'll do that. And just think about that for your gift giving or thank you gifts. And like a lot of people always send stuff at Christmas time. Try being the company that sends it not at that time, but sends it in the middle of the year.
Because I think what you're nailing there in many ways is, again, and I love that you come at it from this approach, this behavioral sciences sort of approach, because what you just went into in a lot of detail there was, again, almost more about standing out. I don't want to say less the automation because you obviously touched on. So right now then, because you mentioned a few of these different things that you've built, and it sounds like you've also stitched things together. I say stitch, I know it's a little more complex than that, but
it's more duct tape, but yeah. If it was stitched, I'd like it a little bit better, but it's really more crappy duct tape.
Okay. And fair enough. So when you're doing this, it sounds like are you creating different, I may be using the terms wrong, but different agents that talk to each other? Like when you talked about that brainstorm session. Okay. And then when you're doing that, what is it in that scenario that's causing one to talk to the other?
It's just how we design. Yeah, it's how we design them, and that's the new agentic platforms out there. There's always a new tool, but the thing is, who cares about the new tool? Find a tool and use the damn thing, right?
Yeah, that's fair, right? Yeah.
And so you design that way. So here's a tip. If you're using ChatGPT and struggling, a lot of people, doesn't sound like me, blah, 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 like they struggle how to use it. Here's my tip. Talk to it like you're training an assistant. So I will actually start the chat. I'll start, hey, g'day. I'll actually say that to it and it responds back to you. And I'm like, can you help me with this task? I want to explain what you do. And then I go back and forth for maybe 5 minutes explaining what I want, what I think is a good outcome. Right? And here's a little tip. It'll give you an output, right? And then you'll be like, that was good. But what I always now say to ChatGPT this, how would you improve this? How would you take the feedback or the conversation we've had and make an improvement to this if you're editing this? And you know what it does? It'll edit it and it'll make it better. That one step takes something that was maybe 30% good and makes it 90% good. And you know what? You can ask it to do it again. And then that third result, you're like, damn, that's better than me, right? So the thing is a lot of people don't know how to have this conversation. They just think the AI already knows what it is. The AI may not know. So you know what? If you've got a video or a podcast or a PDF or some content you've already created, upload it to the tool and go, can I upload these documents so you can understand what I'm trying to sell? Who I'm trying to sell to, and you kind of talk to it like you'd have to train a virtual assistant or how you train an intern. If you do that, I can promise you your outputs will be 100 times better. And if they're not, reach out to me, tell me I'm an idiot, and I will literally show you how to do it for free.
Nice. I love that. You can't beat that. Then I'm curious on that when it comes to people working with you. Because on one hand, like, I don't know, I'm just from this conversation, I'm suffering from, shiny object syndrome where I just want to, I'm thinking here and I'm like, man, imagine how you could apply it to this, or man, imagine being this one top solution for all of this. Like, for you, how do you maintain and keep from going that route? Because even though you're right, this could save you time. You could be out on your bike. I feel like I just want to have so many of these things stood up at once. But how do you maintain what you're going to focus on, as there's so much right for you right now to be able to tackle?
Yeah, so our primary thing is scaling our own offer, right? So we have automated tax credits where we deploy all this technology for our own benefit, right? So the thing is my goal is to scale that into $100 million plus company that's pretty much automated, right?
Okay.
And it's got to literally have a 5-person team running a $100 million company that nobody knows about. You know what? I'm fine with that. I don't need a trophy. I don't need an award. And it's okay that I can walk out and have lunch and nobody knows who I am.
Yeah.
That's my goal. And then the other part of that is doing R&D with companies and having fun with companies under Automate Boring, where we can create and identify new problems. Because when I'm working with clients under that umbrella, we iterate on all these tools because of what we're doing. Like, I do a lot of stuff with med tech companies. Like, my largest client is a $60 billion med tech client. I've got small mom and pop insurance companies and brokers. And what I'm doing is, because we've got a diverse umbrella, I'm getting exposure to different things and going, hey, I just automated this invoice processing as part of the software. And I know you do invoices and check mailing. I could automate that so your person now does this. I had some people who do a lot of stuff with Walmart and like selling online, e-commerce stores. And that's how we're now building automated product analysts to analyze products, trends. And here's one thing that we're doing that's special is I'm taking the weather patterns that occurred for the last 12 months or the last 5 years, overlaying that on top of your sales data to see how weather was impacting your sales in different locations. The only way I could do that is leveraging AI.
Yeah. Incredible. Okay. So then with that now, and totally getting how the tax, piece fits into that and where that's a huge focus. But then for you otherwise, it sounds like you do offer you've built out some other things. So like if people are interested in trying to engage around some of the specific tools and things you mentioned, is that like, how would they go about doing that or working with you? Is that like something where people can go down and they can buy something you've put together, or is it really where they work with you and you're like, no, I will help within your own, your respectful businesses to launch?
Yeah. So what happens is with under the Automate Boring umbrella is we actually become your automation specialist and your strategist in your company. So we become more of a bespoke solution, and we sit with you and go, what's your mission? What's your goals? What are the systems you're using? Show us all the ugly stuff. I don't care if you're using pen and paper for this type of stuff, right? Like, it doesn't matter. I'm like, we become your automation team. We become your deployment team. So you don't have to go, okay, great. How do I deploy this? Oh, crap. This is 80 hours more work for me. No, it's just like, okay, tell us what you want to do. Like, I just sat for coffee with a client. He said, I want to automate these 5 different things. I'm like, great. We'll get them executed and it'll be done for you. And he's like, he loves working with us because he just says this idea. We iterate this idea over coffee. And within the next week or two, he's going to see the results of it. Right. So the thing is that's how we offer it. We're moving into being able to have a more done with you or done do-it-yourself solution with our automation software that we're building. So that way we've got something for people with smaller budgets, but we do try to work around people's objectives and understand that, look, each business is different. Each business has different software and solutions, and automation gets hard that way. And the thing is that if you don't even have an IT guy, well, how are you going to do a lot of this stuff? We understand that. This is really, it doesn't, like, I've worked with $100 million companies that don't even have IT teams.
Right. Amazing, right? It seems unheard of today. No, I mean, look, honestly, everything that you're doing, it's like I geek out and get excited, because even for me, when I was back at Disney and Netflix, there's times where like stuff like this type of stuff that I think is huge, but can fly under the radar because companies their technologies budgets are going towards whatever the flashy greatest thing. But I'm like, no, you realize here, these things, automating these boring tasks on their own right, it's amazing, like how much time and therefore money you could have to reinvest however you want to see it. And I know some people look at that too, and they're always like, oh, you're getting rid of people, you're impacting people. I'm like, well, again, to me, people will find a way. It's like, what is the thing? What should they be moving into? How do they look at it? And or how do you start training some team members to be these automated process experts, for companies that are of that size, if that's the way they want to go?
The opposite way to say that is, so you're happy to pay people to be bottlenecks in your company and actually
Totally.
prevent you from growing.
Totally.
And,
No.
and this is the biggest sabotage we have, is when we automate something, people will go, oh, so you're the person who's killing my job. I'm like, no, I'm actually trying to make you more profitable so you have a job.
Totally.
Because the thing is people will sabotage the automation if they don't know what they're transitioning to. So I always say, look, here's what we're trying to do. Your role and your job is safe. What I'm trying to make sure is that we as a company can survive the storm and the roller coaster that is coming our way. And the only way to do that is to be more efficient.
I totally agree. Yeah. I always talked about automating myself into my next job, because it's like, you automate your tasks, figure out how to do it. Like, those are the people who are actually always going to be positioned well, because now you're like, great. And now the company's better off because of it. Now you compete better in the industry because they're going to do this. So you got to stay on top of it as well.
Well, that's what holds a lot of big Fortune 100 companies back, because the politics get in the way of, job security. And then the next thing you know, the little guys are...
Here's a question to ask for you then. And this ties to, we won't go political, but Art and I had a debate a while back with Elon Musk's role and what he wants to do within the government, what he can do there. And honestly, like, the things that you're working on, that kind of stuff, it's like, well, yeah, knowing that how much deficit you keep going into as a country each, year, it's like, gosh, and I'm not saying that's going to solve one thing, but it's like, that type of stuff, when you look at the automation and things that could be implemented, I think are huge on that front, especially when you look at things like how much stuff like, a DMV always gets picked on here. But because when you think about, Department of Motor Vehicles, and you look at like, the tasks and the things that have to happen there, it's like nobody likes to have to fill out a form, all those type of things. Like, I just think there's so much possibility there. But I'm curious, just to wrap you into that argument for a moment here, do you think stuff like this can be applied very well to companies that aren't as focused on profit like government? Or do you think
100%, 100%? Because like, here's one of the things is like, there's 20,000 business grants and subsidies available to people in the US right now. The problem is they tell you about them, but they never tell you that only 1% of people claimed them. So the thing is that they just make the paperwork so much of a slog that you're like, I don't have 20 hours to devote to this crap, even if it's worth $10 million. So the thing is if it leverages automation, or you leverage automation to play that game, you can win. And that's all it's about. How do I win at this game of business and life?
Love it. 2 questions for you. If you could go back in time, what advice would you give your younger self starting out in automation?
Build more stuff for my own offers and my own growth, my business, not client's business, because it's fun making somebody else $100 million, but I could have made it for myself. So that's answer number 1.
And that might answer number 2 too. What's one big mistake you made in your journey that taught you a valuable lesson? You might have just answered it.
Not putting on my own oxygen mask first. So always putting the client and outreaching and over delivering is not necessarily a beneficial differentiator. So it can actually become a liability.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think so many people do that in their careers and lives in general, as you mentioned that. For people who want to find you, because they're as excited as we are about this potential, how should they reach out to you?
They can easily reach out to help@automateboring.net. That's just help@automateboring.net. Just say you want to talk to the funny talking guy, and the team will literally give you a link on how you can schedule an appointment. And I chat with people, give them AI ideas, no cost, complimentary.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Ben. I'm excited to go.
Putting some fires under us to say, go look at some stuff. This was great. Thank you.
I'll talk to you soon.